So lots of researchers have thought about what is the effect of a woman's status on her children's health. And it's an important question, and intuitively it sort of makes sense that a woman's status might have an effect on her kids. After all, a mom is providing the nutrition for a child at a really critical period in life when it's growing in the womb, and then after it's born, she'll be breastfeeding the child and being the main caregiver for those years that are crucial for the time when a child is growing, basically up to the age of 2 years old. So we would expect to see these relationships, but it's a bit tough to identify a causal link between the two things, because so often it's the case that good things go together. In households where mom has high social status, it's also likely to be the case that she might have good education, or it might be a household that is particularly wealthy or particularly liberal. So oftentimes we don't know whether the relationship that we're seeing between women's status and children's health or children's height is a result of that social status or some other variable. And so what we do in this paper, and when I say we, I mean myself and my co-authors Dean Spears and Ritika Kara, we look at a very special case. We look at the case of Indian households where there are joint households, and what that means is that we're looking at households that have two daughters-in-law living together, sharing resources, and they both have kids under 5 years old. And we compare the heights of the children of those two daughters-in-law. And something that anthropologists and demographers have explained to us over the years is that there's a special feature of joint Indian households, which is that the daughter-in-law who's married to the older brother is assigned a higher social rank than the daughter-in-law who's married to the younger brother. And there are sort of a variety of religious and cultural reasons for that, but it's very clear from this literature and from some of the work that we've done that this really is the case. And so, for instance, you see that some proof that it's the case that the woman married to the younger brother has lower social status is that she's less likely to have say in household decisions, and she's also going to be spending more time inside the home than the woman married to the older brother. And so we look at the children of those two daughters-in-law, and what's nice about this is that they're sharing the same environment. They have the same resources provided to the kids. They have often, they're sharing a cooking pot. They're exposed to similar diseases. They have the same grandparents, so they have similar genetic material as well, but one thing that's different is the status of their moms. And what we find is that the children who are born to the lower ranking daughter-in-law, the one married to the younger brother, are on average shorter than the children born to the higher ranking daughter-in-law. And what we think is going on here, what the data seem to suggest, is that this has something to do with the mom's own nutrition. So we find that the lower ranking daughters-in-law have lower body mass index scores. That means that they're thinner on average. And body mass index has been something that's been shown consistently to be associated with a child's birth weight. So we expect that the babies born to the lower status moms even start out smaller. Something that we found is that the children born to the lower ranking moms are more likely to die in the first month of life than children born to the higher ranking moms. And this is something that is called a neonatal death. And what's been found is that neonatal death is strongly related to how well-nourished mom is, and that goes along with her having a lower body mass index. So, we can't say for sure, but we think that this relationship that we're seeing between women's status and children's height in India could be in large part due to the mom's nutrition. Another thing that's very common in India is poor feeding practices. So, babies might not be fed according to the guidelines where you're supposed to breastfeed for up to 6 months and then complementary feed, meaning give the baby lots of different kinds of healthy food. Oftentimes in India, babies are given extra food very late and in very small quantities. So there are lots of things going on. What can be done is a really pretty tough question, and this is because the moms that are giving birth to low birth weight babies that then leads them to go on to be stunted are some of the most vulnerable people in society, and they're really tough to reach. So the differences between men and women in India and the low status of women is just one symptom of a society that has a lot of social inequality, including religious inequality and caste inequality. And I think what this research suggests is that people who go forward thinking about this sort of thing should really keep inequality in mind and think about whether there are other ways that social inequality might be impacting children's health also.